So for all of you guys that are in our webinar already, it's great to see you. And as Nastia is requesting, if you don't mind, just let us know what you do. If you're an SDR, BDR, whatever you do, we'd love to know. Curious to hear why you're here, what you're looking for from this webinar. But overall, I think we can go ahead and get started. So first off, I just want to say thank you all for being here, and it's a pleasure to have you. My name is Josh, and I've been with Belkins for over 2 years now. It's been a very interesting journey and quite a lot of different changes that have been fun and challenging, but it's led to being able to be the outreach expert here at Belkins. And so that's been a lot of fun being able to create a bunch of content. That's pretty much what I do. Nastia, I'll pass the mic over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Josh. So I am middle content strategist at Belkins, but as for my prior experience, I was working in B2B marketing and B2C marketing and sales for almost 4 years now. So yeah, I'm waiting for my promotion right now. And yeah, it was a roller coaster here, and I've got really good knowledge, insights that I'm ready to share with you today as well. So yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Cool. Well, anyway, so a little bit about us. In case you are new, in case you don't know, Belkins, who is Belkins? We are part of Belkins. Belkins is the industry leader for lead generation and appointment setting. We've been almost 7 years now on the market. In fact, in May, it's going to be our 7-year anniversary. So that's pretty exciting to have that birthday coming up for the company. But besides that, we've had over 1,000 loyal customers with a 95% retention rate. We've booked way over than 200,000 by now, even probably closer to 210, 220,000 appointments, and $10 return for every $1 invested in appointment setting with us. And we've worked with over 50 different industries. So I guess to kind of summarize all of that, over the last 7 years, we've pretty much seen it all, done it all, tried it all, heard it all, and retested or rewarmed the emails. And we've done quite a lot to get to the point where we are the industry leader for lead generation. So today our topic is going to be about template writing, although we do have more information and more courses besides just template writing. So we actually released this year something called Belkins Academy, which if you're hearing about this for the first time, it's kind of a combination of a lot of different things that we offer. One, it is a platform where we have our courses. So we have currently 5 courses, and we're releasing a couple more here in the near future. And we are recording some more. So we're planning on having consistent new kinds of courses coming out to help you with lead generation, to help you with content writing, email deliverability, research, pretty much everything that has to do with lead generation. You name it, we've got it. We've got to help you. That's what we want to do. So we also have a community that is our Belkins Academy community and a YouTube page. So if you haven't, check it out. Drop us a like, subscribe. You know the deal. But yeah, overall, we have a team of over 200 people in Belkins, and that's something that we are proud of and able to actually tap into when we create these courses. So for example, most of the courses that we do, it's not just me sitting in front of the camera talking about specific topics. It's actually our team synchronizing, talking about, okay, what can we share? What is the most important thing that we can give to our viewers, to our audience, that will provide value to them, but also help them to succeed in appointment setting. And so it's awesome being able to have a pool of 200 experts, all with different years of experience, all with different lines of experience, and all basically accessible to kind of just say, hey, I got a question about email deliverability. Is this and this correct? And then they can say, actually, it's even better than that. Here's some more advice. Basically, we have all of the information that we need to be able to help people set things up and run outreach campaigns effectively. But for today, our topic with Nastia is going to be template writing. So as she already mentioned, she is one of our content gurus, and she's going to be able to share a lot of her information and a lot of her practice that she's been having here with Belkins. So to move on, we wanted to start off with some statistics and fun facts of template writing. So to get things started, once again, before we do get started, if you have questions, comments, anything you would like to ask, we do have a chat. We have a QA box as well. You feel free to put wherever you want. Usually the chat works as well. So, but once again, thank you for being here. Let's go ahead and get started. So personalizing subject lines using the recipient's name gives an average open rate of 43.41%. So personalizing subject lines in general, for you, Nastia, what is the best way that you think you could personalize a subject line? Because that's a pretty broad topic in general.
Yeah. So what I'm doing, like just some basics. For example, first name up for a chat next Tuesday. And I really see a good conversion from such a subject line because why? Because it resembles a real life situation. For example, if I'm like working at Belkins and someone from other team emails me with such a subject line, it will trigger me and I will be like, okay, I will open this and I will look what's this about. Another way you can put like recipient's name is, for example, first name, quick question about topic. For example, first name, quick question about your CRM. Or first name, quick question about your, I don't know, recycling capabilities. Okay. So something like that will catch recipients' attention because again, it's something natural. It's not something like AI could generate, or it doesn't like sound artificial or something like that. So that's why it kind of works as of now. But trends are changing, so we will see in the future how it will go.
Right. Also, one of the things that I wanted to add, it's actually kind of something that has to do with our fifth point. The reaching out to multiple contacts from the same account gives a 93% increase in response rate. It's so if you guys don't know, or if you maybe have never tried this, there's a thing called a referral name, and it's a variable that you can basically insert into your body of your email or your subject line, which means if you have your database of lead information, so the typical ICP information, like the company name, company size, region, industry, whatever it might be in your database for you. Referral would be if you were targeting, any kind of company. In general, it's best not to just have one contact per company, right? Because you want to be able to have a better chance of reaching a company, not just hoping that one person is going to be your golden gates to get to a quick call with them. So typically having at least 2 or more prospects from a single company is definitely ideal. But when you do have that, you can actually set up a variable so that if you got, let's say, Jane and Jacob from the same company, you can set it up so Jane and Jacob are referrals for each other. So when you're putting in this personalization tactic of using the recipient name, it could be like Jane following up about an email to referral name, which would then automatically pull Jacob's name in. And then so you're basically doubling how much actual personalization you have by using the recipient name, but also including in the referral name. So just something that popped in my head that I wanted to bring up. But moving on, so 35 out of 100 people open emails if the subject line has their company name in it. Call us egoistic, but I think this is something that's true. It's like if you know that this person's reaching out about you or your company, it makes it at least a higher chance that you want to open it because you're curious. It's like maybe the FOMO effect. If you don't know what that is, FOMO, it's a fear of missing out. And so you think, oh man, maybe this is important. Maybe this is something that I missed and I need to open. And just the curiosity killed the cat kind of aspect here comes into play, where you maybe don't even know for sure that this is supposed to be an email that you're supposed to get, but you already think maybe I don't want to miss this because if I do, who knows, I might get in trouble. I mean, you never know. But yeah, so having a company name inside your subject line is definitely something that is very important. What would you say about that, Nastya?
Yeah, I agree. And especially if it's something like complimentary perk for company or, I don't know, platform demo for company, it stirs the interest even more because you don't even see like your company's name, but you also expect that you will receive something from this email, like on top of just mentioning your company name. So that's also a good way to phrase your subject line and to drive like higher open rate. And yeah, I guess we will move on to the next part about interest-based CTAs. So again, sometimes it's good to push a person directly to have a call on a specific date at specific time, but it doesn't work for everyone. So there are unique cases when people are not that like open to have a conversation straight away from like receiving this one email from you. And in that case, even especially when we see like that our open rate is good, but our reply rate is low, that's when we try to change our tactics in terms of CTAs. And then we just try to come up with some open question. For example, does this resonate with you? Or is this problem something you like face at company at this moment? Or do you want to have some additional materials from us? or like, do you want to dig deeper in this problem or something like that? So not pushing people to have a call directly, but just engaging them in the dialogue. So that's a good way to have like higher reply rate and just to win the trust from people you don't really know. What do you say, Josh?
Yeah, I would say that sometimes it can even be so simple. I feel like a lot of times experts will have the natural act of trying to overcomplicate things because they feel like they need some kind of perfect recipe for a response. When sometimes people just want the straight, simple fact put in front of them. Here's what I do. Here's what I'm asking to help you overcome in your company. And the question that like pops in my mind when you're talking about interest-based CTAs is just a simple question: are you interested in this? Like, just like even not just interested in this, but are you interested to learn more about this? So you're giving them an option of not just saying like, here's what I'm giving you, you take it or so else. Like, you're actually giving them the option of just saying, you know what, I'm not very interested in this. Thanks for asking, at least. Because a lot of times it's very it's very assumed that we hope that they're going to hop on a call. Of course, it's sales email. That's what cold outreach is. But still showing them the respect of asking them, are you interested to learn more? And if we are open for the fact they're going to say no, then at least they feel we're respecting them enough to give them the option of saying no, instead of just saying, well, I don't care. Here, take whatever I've got for you. So, yeah, but like also something that kind of contradicts with what I just said, in like the hope this finds you well. So I'm sure you've had these emails when you receive an email from someone and the first line says, hi, David, or whatever your name is. Hope this email finds you well, or I hope you're having a great day, or something like this. So apparently, supposedly, this is actually something that can increase your booking chances of a meeting like by 24%, from what I've heard. From my personal experience and from what Nastya and I actually talked about before we had this the webinar, was basically the opposite, actually. Like, we felt that sometimes when you, in a sense, are trying to lie to a prospect, because at the end of the day, like, let's be honest, how many of you have those friends that maybe they write you out of the blue and they're like, hey, how are you? And you're like, I'm fine, thanks, how are you? I'm great. Listen, I wanted to talk, you know what I mean, right? You've had those people talk to you or call you or text you, and you just feel like, okay, you just want something from me. That's exactly the same feeling that I get when someone asks me this. It's like, I hope this finds you well. It's like, do you really? Like, I'm sorry, but it's a cold email. I understand that it's a cold email. You don't have to lie. Just tell me exactly what you want. And I think that that's something that a lot of people, especially decision makers or high end like C-levels, they don't really need the formalities, right? They just need, this needs to be a 30-second email, or I'm spamming it, or I'm throwing it away because I don't have the time. The I hope this finds you well is basically just wasting 2 seconds of their time, which potentially is wasting the opportunity for them to actually respond to you. So I think that having the CTA, but also understanding how to start the email is so important, because of course, if you get to the end of the email and the CTA is effective, that's great. But when you think about it, why is a video on TikTok becoming viral? Because of the hook, right? The first 5 seconds made someone want to watch the rest of the video. It's the same thing with email, and it's the same thing with cold email outreach. If the person is not interested within the first 5 seconds, there's a very low chance that they're going to actually want to respond to you, right? Because they just don't feel like they're invested in this. They don't see, what is the value that I'm going to get? Am I going to be entertained? Am I going to be educated? Is this going to solve my pain point? Whatever it might be. Essentially, yeah, the first section should not be one of those formalities. It basically just says, you have no clue who I am, and I really don't care, but I'm just going to throw this in for manners. Like, I think personally, and maybe you could agree with me, or maybe you don't agree with me. I would love to hear your thoughts, Nastya. But I would much rather receive an email that's very straightforward and says, hey, I've done a bunch of research. Maybe these are some things that you're encountering as challenges. I'd love to talk to you about what I've created that helps other companies like yours with that kind of challenge, as opposed to starting it off by, I hope this email finds you well. Who knows where I might be when I get that email? So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's totally true. I just remember all those TikTok memes about like how this email actually finds you, and you're like in tears, snowed under your piles of work and just in a bad mood. And then you read this, hope this finds you well. But again, when we talk about open rate of our emails, it's not just about subject lines. It's also about our first email line that is seen when you just open your inbox. especially when you open it from your mobile phone, because like 21st century right now, we always check our emails like from our phones as well. And that's why you shouldn't waste your first email, the one like first email line on like sentence that doesn't bring any value. It just doesn't tell you about your topic, like nothing at all. So you just waste your opportunity to have a conversation, just to be opened for people. So yeah, that I'm like, I agree with this, and I'm just, I don't know, 24%, just can't believe this number actually. Okay, so yeah, we talked about reaching out to multiple contacts already. Again, subject lines based on questions. So it's kind of contradictory stats right now, because I've like seen different trends, and sometimes it's not that good to start your subject line with a question, especially when you have a bunch of questions in your email body as well. So when you're overflowing a prospect with different questions, it's not good because the person can be confused. For example, if you have a question in your subject line, like first name up for a chat, then you start your opening line again with a question about a problem or pain point or something like that. It's like second question. And then you have a CTA again with a question. So 3 different questions, and it can be overwhelming. So just try to stick to 1 or maximum 2 questions per your email body. And if you have like CTA, obviously you cannot get rid of CTA like question. Then you should like think about what you will put in your subject line, so it doesn't have 2 questions in a row. So just bear that in mind as well.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think that sometimes it's very easy to ask a bunch of questions and then think that they're going to respond to every single one of them. And so I agree. I think that if you have a good balance of maybe 1 or max 2 questions throughout your entire email, including the subject line and the body, that's much more likely that they'll actually respond. So I would agree with you. Just a couple of the comments that I wanted to respond to before we get to the next slide. So in your honest opinion, interest-based CTAs work well, especially for LinkedIn outreach. Arjun, I agree. I think LinkedIn is definitely something that is very different from email marketing, and the content and the copy that you write for LinkedIn is definitely going to be similar, but still very different from what you write in emails itself. So great comment. I agree with you. Matthew, you said perhaps depends on the level of seniority. The hopes this finds you well. I think that some people, they are all for the formalities of, I hope this email finds you well. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, in the sense of like, if that's what you want to do, sure, go ahead and do it. For me personally though, I just understand that when I'm sending emails to people, I want them to understand that I'm a very straightforward person, and I want from my first meeting to the end when they become a client or I become a partner with them, I want them to understand right away, I'm here to talk about work. I'm not here to talk about informalities that we both understand. It's kind of like when you, in America, most people, they say, hi, how are you? It doesn't actually mean how are you, right? It's kind of the culture now in America. It's just the way of saying hi. It's actually saying hi, how are you? Hi, how are you? But it's still like you're not actually asking the person how they're doing. I actually had an experiment once when I responded to somebody. I said, do you want to know how I'm really doing? I'm actually not having a great day at all. And they were kind of like flabbergasted, like, what do I say now? Like, they just, you can tell that they just don't expect that in general. So I don't think that there's anything wrong. I don't think you have to necessarily always cut out the formality if that's what you want to do. Like, it's up to you, of course. But for me and my team, and I think Nastya would agree with me, is if you have the opportunity to leave it out, because when somebody opens up their phone, they see the subject line, right? But they also see the first line. And so if you say, I'm Matthew from ABC Company, they're going to see, I'm Matthew from ABC Company. If the very first thing that you say is about you, and this is one of the rules, is don't make your emails about you. The email needs to be about the prospect, and we'll get onto that in a second. But when you start off by something that's like fluff, which would be the formalities, they just don't understand right away. And sometimes when you're in a quick, like 5 second, I've got 5 seconds to respond, I need to know exactly if this email is important or not. I don't think it's important because I don't know what I'm actually supposed to be finding out. That's because of the formality that was inputted right in the beginning. And then when reaching out to multiple people at the same company, do you do individual emails to each, or put them all in one email? Each person should have their own email. You could try bulk sending them to like all of the same people at the same time, but still the chances of you actually getting in front of them is much better if you send emails to each person individually. What's the optimal link for the first message? Nastya, what about you? What do you think? Optimal.
I will respond in lines. For example, if you have like opening line, I would say like 1-2 lines maximum. Then DVP, just 1-2 sentences maximum. And CTA, preferably 1 short sentence. So that's the ideal for me, I guess. And for people to skim through, because we have this kind of F signed, like F figured, I don't know how you say that. Like when you skim through the text, like the longest line is the first line, then a bit shorter from the middle, and then just a tiny dot in the end. So in the form of the letter F. So that's how our brains work.
Yeah, I would say definitely not a lot. Don't put a whole lot into your email. Otherwise, people look at it and they're like, "Oh, I have to read the next chapter of Harry Potter." But yeah, so so moving on to CTAs. We're not going to obviously talk about every single one of these things because there's quite a lot here. By all means, if you have the opportunity, take a screenshot, take a picture with your phone. This is very helpful. This is actually something that our SDR team came up with before our webinar, and they talked with Anastasiia and I believe the content team as well to put this together. But it's basically a cheat sheet of a bunch of different things that you can use for, like, for example, length. Like, how long should your CTA be? Well, it can be as long or as short as you want. Obviously, it seems to be better if you keep it short because it's people's short attention spams. Like in general, people don't really want to read a long email anymore. And so when they need to read, like, so because of this, I was wanting to ask you if you have time to meet with me, maybe next week after that, who knows, whenever. And like, they're already like, okay, if you want to meet, just say, let's meet next week on this time. And that works so much better. So like, worth a chat, sound helpful, common mistakes to avoid, explored anything similar before, something like this. So yeah, all of these will work really, really well. Pressure. What would you have to say about this, Nastya?
So again, we just touched base about that before. So it's not always good to push someone to have like a call straight away. So that's why you have a lot of like additional marketing materials from your clients. For example, some case study links, or I don't know, they had a recent webinar, so you can share this link as well. Or just like use those interest-based CTAs that you also have on your screen just to drive this dialogue and not to I don't know, to make people overwhelmed with your pushy attitude. Yeah, right. That was a little bit long pause. I didn't pass the mic.
Well, moving on, like to the last thing, it's self-respect. So like, as you can see, imagine you are writing on behalf of a company with over 1,000 employees, and you're presenting the CEO with the following CTA. Are you available for a 15-minute call next week? Please let me know your preferred date and time by replying to this email, and I'll accommodate your schedule. In a sense, yes, this is showing respect because you're showing them that it's like, I'm going to make this as easy as possible. You just give me a time. Sometimes there's something that I wanted to point out is sometimes it's actually even more effective to give them a specific day and time. Why is that? Because even if you have no clue what their schedule is, right? No one really does, unless you can find their calendar and open up and then see on their calendar, okay, they've got this time, so I could promote this time. If you don't have their schedule, giving them a time, it's easier for them psychologically to actually respond and say, no, I can't meet at that time. But because they're already invested and they've already responded, and they've already started to respond by saying no, it's easier for them to just like, well, I can't meet at that time, but I should at least be respectful and like give them some kind of response, like this time might work. As opposed to saying, what time are you available? Then they think, oh, I have to open my calendar. I have to, like, there's no sense of urgency. Because when you ask them, does this day and this time work? They feel like, I need to respond, no. I need to, because I know I have a call at this time, or I have a meeting at this time, or I need to pick up the kid at this time. Whatever it might be, they have a higher chance of actually saying, well, I can't do it at this time. So instead of just saying no, how about I actually give them a follow-up time that might be better? So trying to use that, but also self-respect. Like you need to show them that it's something that you're a priority for you is to meet with them, of course, but also that you do have your own schedule and you need to keep up with your own schedule. So I think that having that self-respect for them, or the respect, but also for yourself, it's so important to not just say, oh, I can meet whenever you want. Because then they're like, well, if you can meet whenever you want, probably means you don't have many calls, which means it's probably not worth hopping in a call with you. So knowing how much and how not much to actually provide, I think that's one of the golden rules as well. So ICP. So before we get on to actually structuring our templates, which is what we wanted to talk about next, we want to talk about ICP and value proposition. So ICP, in case you don't know, and maybe you've never heard of this, maybe you have, it's basically your ideal picture of the ideal client for you. You can see an example on the screen. It's like company size and an industry and then a region and the job title. This is basically the person that you want to target, the company that you want to target. And this should be your, let's say, your base of what you are going to start thinking about your templates, what they should look like, because you have enough information. It shouldn't just be like, I'm going to write an email saying, buy my stuff, right? You understand, okay, if it's 51 to 200 employees, it's a medium-sized company, retail, e-commerce, CPG in the United States. I'm reaching out to the head of finance. I should probably talk about pain points that financial titles would have. I should probably try and talk about some kind of change that happened in the e-commerce industry or in the retail industry or the CPG. And you basically, from this ICP, are able to understand roughly, this is what I want to actually do. This is what I want to write in my emails themselves. Nastia, what would you like to add?
Yeah, something I would like to add that, for example, if you have like in your target industry, retail and medical sphere, obviously your tone of voice will be different when you target retail industry. It can be more informal, but when you're like reaching out to someone from medical sphere, you will be more official. Then again, we sometimes do like title-based approach because sometimes our templates can differ when we target C-level people and manager-level people. So that's why like ICP is very important to identify at the beginning of your email campaign, because from region, from industry, from job title, like depends how you will draft your email, which tone of voice will you pick, which wording will you use, which pain point will you use. So that's something you should like bear in mind.
Perfect. I can't add anything else. That was perfect. I completely agree with you. Moving on to our value proposition. So in case you don't know, value proposition is basically what you offer. So it's your specific list of benefits. It's what you can help overcome. It's what you can help solve the issues that your product or your services or your whatever it might be that you're offering, how that overcomes and how that helps. And so two things really quick: 80% of value for a recipient, you-centered sentences. So like we mentioned a little bit a while ago, was actually the email should not be about you. It shouldn't be about my company is this, my company is this, my offering is this, my offering is this. It should very, very much more be focused on the prospect themselves. So what kind of value can I provide for you? What kind of pain points can I help you overcome? What kind of problems can I solve for you? What kind of processes can I streamline? Whatever it might be, you are able to actually find a way of providing value and saying that this is valuable for you and your company. And that comes off much better than my company is the best in the industry. You should definitely work with us because we offer this, 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 and this. Our numbers are this, this, this. They want to know I am being heard. They know what my pain points are, what my issues are, and they're actually offering something that can help me with what I really struggle with on a daily basis. If you do that, you're going to see so many more responses that are positive and or maybe even negative, but in a negative positive sense, saying, it sounds really great, but I'm just kind of going through something right now. Let's follow up maybe in a month or 2 or 3 months, something like that. So use centered sentences, not about you, your company, but about your prospect and their needs. It should be honestly the differentiator. Truly, it should be what sets you apart. It shouldn't just be one more company that does this, this, and this, but actually we can help you do this, this, and this. And that's why I know that I can provide value. And if you hop on a call with me, it'll be worth your while. It's showing them that you are different, that you are unique, and that you stand out. Yeah. So moving on, speaking your customer's language. I know that you do a great job of this, Nastia. You dive into all of your clients whenever you have clients and you really understand their language. Would you like to add to that specifically?
Yeah, and something I would like to add, like to the previous point. So for example, sometimes you have like your client has some sort of a platform, and instead of talking about the value that this platform can bring to your prospects, you just describe this platform. You describe features, you describe how they are like I don't know, for example, an iPhone. It's red, it's like bright screen, good sound, etc., etc. So it's not value. It's just like platform's features. So please don't do that. Don't don't like write those bullet points because they don't give any value to a prospect. So that's something I want to quickly highlight. And yeah, as for customers' language, again, I'm a writer, but I'm not writing from my own name. So I'm always representing my clients, and that's why I'm forgetting about my identity when I'm writing an email from my client's side. And that's why it's really important to find this balance between your client's tone of voice, his writing style, and then your ICP's tone of voice. Because, for example, if there is a mismatch and you use some like overly creative collocations and idioms or slang that like people don't understand, or for example, if you use some too technical like terms and words that are also like overly complicated for your target audience, it's not good. So there should be a match between your target audience and your client's tone of voice. So that's something you should keep in mind. And yeah, keep things clear and simple. That's something we always say, that your email should be understood by a 5th grade school kid. So I know sometimes it's hard because we have this creative nature in us. We want to use some interesting idioms. We want to use some like C2 level words, right? But yeah, sometimes it's really helpful to be just straightforward, straight to the point, real quick, chill, and just to land in the person's inbox, be open, be replied, and have an appointment. Because people have an attention span like, I guess it's even less than the goldfish right now has. Because some time ago I checked these stats, and like fish has a better attention right now than people do. So that's really frustrating.
Yeah, I gotta love all of the short form content that's helping us with that for sure. The swipe is definitely having an impact on all of us for sure. So, okay, so we get a gist of value proposition. So let's go ahead and actually move on and start talking about structuring your templates. So in general, this is the like I'd say the 101 how to create your templates, and it should have a subject line, you should have a greeting, opening line, the body, which is where you have the value proposition, the call to action, the CTA, and the closing and the signature. So as we break things down, basically, if you look at this template, okay, you can see that we actually have a CTA in here as well, which is something that you can try. And it doesn't always necessarily work for every single industry, but sometimes depending upon which titles. And once again, one thing that's very important to remember is every industry, every title, every region has so many different moving parts that you can't just think that one thing works for every single person, and that's fine. So if you find a great template, it doesn't mean that template is going to work well in a different industry than what you're currently targeting. You have to obviously test things, and you have to A/B test things, which we'll get onto in a second. But basically, this is one of the ones we've tried and we've tested, and it has worked pretty decently well. And we actually include a CTA in the opening line itself. So as you can see, we're using variables. So these basically company, first name, companies, platform, all of these things that are in brackets, these are variables, which means the program that you use, whether that be reply, outreach, whatever it might be, it will actually automatically pull the prospect data from your database into there. So the first name would be the first name and so on. So here we can actually see that we have a CTA. So how about Tuesday, May 11th? Once again, that's a specificity. It's the actual day and time that you're offering someone, trying to make it as easy for them to just say, no, that doesn't work, or yes, that does work. But then also we got the email body, which is just, giving a little more information about the platform. And then once again, another CTA. But if you notice, there's not two questions here. Even in this situation, when we have two CTAs, there's not really two questions. I'm excited to show you how we've helped similar practices enhance their operations. Let me know if this time works for you or suggest another. And so in a sense, you're not overwhelming them with way too many questions that they need to answer. The only question that they really need to answer is Tuesday, May 11th, and that's it. Like, they feel the push from the second CTA. And in general, I would say this subject line is definitely short and sweet, and it's understandable that this is something for that company, and it's not some kind of spam email that has nothing to do with you or your interests. So yeah, streamline company's growth in 2024. What would you like to add here?
Yeah, I'd say I don't really like email body, frankly speaking. But it's better than just listing some features, definitely. But we could have rewarded this platform offers, blah, blah, blah. In other words, for example, company, like while using our platform, company could benefit from streamlined documentation, increased revenue. And I would add some numbers here as well, if possible, again, because, for example, if you just say increased revenue, it's kind of blurry. But if you say increased revenue by like for X, for example, it's more clear. But overall, it looks good. And again, you can A/B test different versions of your opening line, of your VP, of your CTA, and then just compare metrics and see which variant works better, and then just leave this one best performing variant.
Cool. Yeah. All right. So in general, 5 tips for structuring your sequences. Simple one-sentence follow-ups like first name, would it move things forward if I contacted referral name? Here's what I mentioned before regarding the value proposition. It actually drives a lot of responses. So once again, just short and sweet, just, not spamming them with a bunch of information, especially if they don't respond. That might mean that they're just very, very busy. And so giving them a huge follow-up email with a bunch of different things and a bunch of different questions, not really effective. So keeping it very short and sweet. Would it move things forward if I contacted this person regarding the value proposition? Great way to follow up. Based on our experience, the ideal sequence length is between 3 and 5 emails. So typically, if you get more than 5 emails, you actually start to see a drop in your open and response rates. Logically, like how many times have you gotten 10 emails from the same person and you're like, will you just go away? So yeah, I mean, I think for me personally, what I was trying to do is put myself in the prospect's shoes. How many emails would I be okay with? And then how many would be like, okay, this is kind of crossing a line. And then when I start to actually mark them into spam. So 3 to 5 typically works the best. Reply rates grow from 49 to 220% after the first follow-up, and you can expect a 9% increase in reply rates after the second follow-up. So follow-ups, Nastya, they're good,
Again.
right?
So yeah, adding again to the previous point. So sometimes we also divide those 3 to 5 email sequences based on our approaches. For example, if it's pre-conference or like post-conference approach, we usually use only 3 steps. And usually we use like 4-step email sequence, but 5 emails is just for cases when the client has a really wide offering. He has a lot of different additional materials that we should put in our sequence. And that's why we can get this additional follow-up step, like number 5. But that's just rare cases, I would say. And as for follow-ups, yeah, again, sometimes it's not just that people are not interested in your offering. Sometimes they just didn't see your first email. They didn't have enough time to respond to that. They just had a really messy inbox. And then if you, okay, they didn't respond to my first email. Okay, I won't email them again. That's not the right attitude in our sphere. So then you should bring your idea again to them by simple, real quick follow-up, like we mentioned before. Just maybe I'm targeting the wrong person for this request, or I don't know, I have some additional materials to share. Would you be interested in seeing something else? Or like, I don't know, something between these lines. So that's really drives reply rates. And sometimes I really like check our responses, and I see that people say, "Oh, I forgot to respond to you. Yeah, thank you for like following up. Thank you. Yeah, let's do this call." So that's really good to do, but just not to overuse these follow-ups, not to make them really lengthy or something like that.
Yeah, the persistency is definitely something that plays a really good part in any kind of cold outreach. Sometimes you'll get obviously those people that are like very, very polite, let's say, in their responses, but still, it's like if it's a red light, it means you don't have to waste any more time on them, right? So if they say go away, it means all right, but not gonna waste any more time on you then. So and you know right away, now I've got more time to spend on somebody else. So yeah, the whole 2-word subject lines are a thing. I love that. Like very quick, very simple, and then plus also if the subject line is short, your opening line means you can see more of that in the actual preview. So if you've got a really, really nice and catchy kind of subject line that's just literally 2 words, but then your opening line is just like, oh, such a nice hook, that really is really effective. And it's something that not a lot of people would actually expect, because most people, they think subject line and then they don't even think about the opening line, unless they're like, should I open it or not? Is it spam or is it some kind of phishing scam? Who knows? But yeah, this is something that kind of changes the game. It's a little bit different. So try it out when you get the chance.
Yeah, definitely. And our favorite part,
Yeah.
my favorite part.
The do's and don'ts. Do you want to talk about the do's or do you want to talk about the don'ts?
I would like to talk about don'ts.
The don'ts? Okay. And I'll do the do's. So make the first line about them. We already briefly talked about this. But yeah, I mean, don't, like, how many times have you gotten an email that says, hey, I'm Jake from ABC Company, wanted to talk to you about this? Like, everyone's gotten those kind of emails, and we all know right away it's a sales email. So don't be one of those people. That's just my personal advice to you. So make the first line about them. Maybe you're struggling with this, or when you've done research for your prospects, you can actually try and, see if there's a specific pain point that you can include in the first line to say, if your company, personalization, if company is struggling with A, B, C, or D, this would be something I would love to talk with you about. That's giving them more information. It's showing them it's about them and not just about like, oh, look at my shiny new company. Like, this is my favorite toy. You should buy it, whatnot. So do make the first line about them for sure. Keep it conversational. Keeping it conversational, I think, is so vague, but also so specific at the same time, because sometimes when you write an email, I always say first things first, always be professional, right? Your email shouldn't be like, hey, what's up, dude? Let's chill, have a meeting next week. Peace. Like, of course, you don't want to start that email that way. But a lot of people, they miss a great client relationship because the client responds and they're like, oh, what's up, dude? Yeah, thanks for reaching out. Your thing sounds amazing. Let's definitely meet. And they open the door for that kind of like conversational chat, right? That banter has now changed from the professional formal to now the kind of buddy, kind of informal kind of chat. So I would say keeping it conversational, meaning not using the extremely big words that Nastya mentioned, like, trying to keep it simple, like some, fifth grader would use, because people, they just want to speak. They just want to understand exactly what the email is about. So keeping it conversational, not making it a lecture in psychology or quantum physics. Like, just keep it simple. Yeah. So use storytelling 100%. Storytelling is the bomb.com. I recommend this to everyone. Storytelling, it really helps the prospect to be invested and interested in what you have to say and what the end of the story is. So definitely do that. Try it out as best as you can. Obviously, sometimes storytelling can be difficult if you're trying to keep your email short, but you can always do something very strategic and actually keep the story going across 3 or 5 emails. So it's kind of like a sequence that people are kind of waiting for your next email, if that makes sense. Keeping your CTA limited to one question, we've already mentioned that. Don't overwhelm them with way too many things. Just keep it simple. And one thing that they have to respond to is so much easier for them. It's just, oh, I just have to answer this one question. Easy. Then test one moving part at a time. A common error that I see a lot of people do in outreach, in cold outreach, is they say, nothing's working. All right, let's change who we're reaching out to. Let's make a whole new set of templates and let's come up with a new offering. Like, just because one thing or everything seems like it's not working doesn't mean that everything is actually not working. Sometimes you have the perfect template, but you're just not reaching out on the right pain point. And so the pain point might just need a little tweak and then it's perfect. And that's happened with me multiple times where we changed the template a little tiny bit and the open response rates like doubled, literally. And sometimes it can be maybe your ICP is not right. Maybe you're targeting the right companies, but the title is the wrong title. It's not the right person for the response to take responsibility of it. And if you tweak the ICP, but you don't tweak the templates and you see that it's successful, imagine if you tweak both and then all of a sudden you have no way of tracking what was not working, what was working. And that's the biggest thing that I need to leave on is this. When you test more than one moving part at a time, you cannot understand what was broken, what was not working, and what you should never go back to. If you do one thing at a time, then you slowly eliminate all of the things that are not working until you get to that golden recipe and realize, okay, this is the bomb.com. This works every single time. So the don'ts, the don'ts. Yeah, let's go.
Yeah. So don't start your opening line with a closed question. That's something I also do sometimes when I don't have any creative ideas in my head or when I'm writing an email like in the evening. But that's not good because, again, cold email outreach is a mass outreach. You cannot physically do like really deep research of your target audience. So you cannot be 100% sure that they use this exact tool for doing that. So, for example, if you say like in your opening line, do you use spreadsheets like Google Spreadsheets for tracking your, I don't know, residents' move-ins and move-outs? And they say no, and they skip your email. But when you reform this question to an open question, for example, what tool do you use for your, like, to track your resident move in, move out process? Then they can open this because they are kind of interested what you will say, what tool you will propose to them. So that gives this space for a communication. Then again, don't underestimate A/B testing. That's also we mentioned before, because even from my experience, sometimes the gap between subject line A, which is really general, for example, first name up for a chat, and then really topic specific subject line, for example, streamlining your, like, I don't know, business operations in 2024. And the gap between the open rate in the open rate is like 10%. So that's really good to test different types of subject lines, but not from one sphere, but just one general subject line, one more specific, one short, one longer, something like that. Again, don't waste your first email sentence on a typical opener. Again, that's something we talked about before, because but by the way, hi, I'm Kate. I'm CMO at ABC Company. If you're like writing from Apple or from Microsoft, it's a good way to introduce yourself because you're a well-known brand. But when you're like writing from a company, for example, a startup company, so it's not really, it doesn't add any value, and you waste your opening line on something that doesn't bring any value to your prospects. So start with some value right away. So I've done my research and I think you'll be interested in this, or from my experience working with similar like companies in your industry, I saw this challenge. So something like that. This one is also really good. Don't dissipate multiple ideas in one message, especially when your clients are doing branding, marketing, I don't know, graphic design, video production, and you like pull all of these different services in one email body, and the person on the receiving end doesn't get a thing about what you're offering, what they can get from this, because they already forget what you mentioned in the first paragraph. So that's why if your client, for example, has a really good but wide offering, you can divide this offering for different campaigns, like tailored to different titles, tailored to different pain points, different industries, different geos, so something like that. And the last one is also interesting. Avoid passive-aggressive phrases. Every person is unique. And for example, for me, these phrases, as per my last email or to refresh your memory in the follow-up emails, they don't sound rude for me. But for certain prospects, they will sound passive-aggressive. And I really get those responses because sometimes I use this because I like this phrase to refresh your memory in the follow-up email. When I use it, some people respond really good, like no pressure, no rude, offensive flavor to that. But sometimes people really don't like this opening line and they make rude comments. So yeah, just try to avoid those phrases and be neutral and simple. And again, they are like filler phrases, so they don't add any value, actually. Yeah.
To add to you here, what you're just saying, I think that a quote that comes to mind that is very true is, you can please a lot of the people some of the time. You can please some of the people a lot of the time, but you can never please all the people all the time. And I think that it, like, no matter how hard you try, you're never going to have a template that never gets any kind of negative response.
That's also true. But at least we can avoid certain situations when we may sound passive-aggressive to some. Because yeah, sometimes you craft a perfectly good email for best practices and people just say, you're a spam email, go to hell. So yeah, it also happens sometimes.
And that's very light responses. Yeah. Okay. Well, we are going to open the opportunity up to ask us any questions that we have that you have. I do see that there's already a question about Paul using ChatGPT for templates. Can you share pros and cons?
Mm,
There's
I
a lot
can.
of good ways to use it, and there's a lot of bad ways to use it. The bad way is just say, write me this template, and then just use the template.
Yeah.
I've always said that AI, no matter what kind of AI it is a great assistant, not a replacement. And if you know how to use ChatGPT, if you know how to use the right prompts, and if you know how to use for specific sections of a template, sure, it can work really, really well. But in general, I don't think that using ChatGPT to write an entire template is great because there's a lot of things that you're not going to be able to get from that AI. For example, personalization. You're not going to be able to implement a lot of the pain points or the specific technicalities that you yourself will know if it's specifically an industry that you know well. But yeah, there's a lot of different things that ChatGPT won't do as well as you. Plus, it's just going to sound more robotic. For example, Delve. I mean, I'll be honest. Maybe this is just me, but I never heard Delve ever before ChatGPT came out. I know that it's more like a British English term in general, but like in America, we would typically say dive, like we dive into this or dive into that. But once ChatGPT came out, all of LinkedIn, all of the posts that I saw, I could tell right away that it was ChatGPT writing because everyone was saying delve, delve, delve out of nowhere. And you could just tell, honestly, that it's not as personal. There's just a feeling that ChatGPT creates. And if you're in the industry of appointment setting and cold email outreach long enough, you can understand that that's just not a person writing that. We actually have a video where me and one of our colleagues actually have basically a blindfold test to see if we can differentiate if it's ChatGPT written templates or actual handwritten manual templates. So if you haven't seen that, go to our YouTube channel on Belkins, and there's a video that you can check out there for that. But what would you like to add to that, Nastya?
Yeah. So I personally use ChatGPT, for example, if I need to rephrase a certain part of our emails, or I don't know, shorten some part of our emails, because sometimes I can be too much creative and then I have this big blog post, not an email, and I need to shorten that, but just to make sure I have this main idea intact. So that's why I can use ChatGPT's help with that. And yeah, when we had also this Christmas time and I needed to create, for example, Christmas closing line or like opening line for each of our clients, and I didn't want to sound repetitive. So that's when I also like asked ChatGPT to create like different alternatives of those Christmas wishes for all of my clients. So yeah, something like that. And yeah, usually I use this. Oh, again, in terms of research, sometimes it can also be helpful, but I would say that there is another AI tool, Perplexity. So this is more reliable tool when you do a research, for example, about your ICP or about your industry specific problem or something like that, because it also pulls links to like real blog posts or articles in the internet, and it has fresh data because ChatGPT, like free version of it, is just dated like January 2022, I guess. So Perplexity is a better version for those who seek for like real time data about some industry trends or some pain points of a certain ICP type. So that's my recommendation. Yeah.
I'll give you the next question right away, Nastya. What strategies do you use to find the pain points of the titles you're approaching?
Yeah, Perplexity again. But yeah, since I have like a lot of projects behind my back, so I can turn to my older projects and I see what works for a certain type of ICP and what didn't work. But again, sometimes it's a unique case and you never know. So I will rely on A/B testing as well, on brainstorming sessions with my teammates, because everyone has its unique experience. So one head is okay, but two heads is better. I don't know, it's Ukrainian phrase, but yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know English version of it, but yeah, it's always good to have this collective brainstorming session and to find something new in the end of it. So
Depending
yeah,
on
I would say like combination of AI and human knowledge, human experience is a great way to create something. Because unfortunately, I don't have an opportunity to have like an interview call with each of ICP types I'm writing to. So sometimes it comes with experience, and sometimes you just analyze the responses you receive from different titles, how they correspond. Again, you can also monitor your clients because I don't have only CEOs in my client pool. Sometimes it's like business development guys, sometimes it's sales executive guys. So I can also see how they talk to each other, which phrases they use. So yeah.
something that I would add as well is there's this approach that's called user interview. And if you've never heard of this, we actually talked about it in our course. I will actually put the link to our academy in the chat. I just put it there. But yeah, basically in our course, it's we talked a lot about a lot of different template writing and copywriting, life hacks, like resources, tools, approaches that you can use, setting things up from start to finish, basically. But user interview is one of those approaches that we actually talked about, and this is a great approach for actually exactly what your question was, Jess. When you don't understand it for sure, and imagine like from our standpoint, we have clients that we help schedule appointments for them, right? But if you're doing appointment setting for yourself, you're typically going to have maybe one or two or three industries in roughly that you're going to be focusing on for the time being. And so it's not that hard to actually set up a couple meetings with a couple maybe decision makers or people who would be interested to talk with you about their big pain points. And literally you just go out and say, hey, I'd love to hear more about your experience in that industry and understand better what the challenges are, what the trends are. And essentially you set up this meeting to talk with them about their issues that they're going through. But if the shoe fits, you can actually kind of turn it into a sales call. There's obviously a much more aggressive approach in general when you use the user interview. So this is kind of like what I'm proposing is kind of a user interview / actual interview call to get more information to then create more templates. But it can still work the same way. You can ask about the pain points or the issues that they've been dealing with. And if it really does seem like it's something that you can help them with right now, then say, well, that's actually really ironic. I wasn't meaning to sell you on anything, but I do have something that I could show you. Just let me know. Like, if you don't have time, it's fine. I don't want to sell you because I actually asked for your genuine opinion. But if you have 5 minutes, I would be happy to show you something. Set it off easy, and if they agree, then maybe you might make a sale. So, next question was, what time frame is best for circling back if prospect has not replied?
Oh, may I?
Yeah, of course. Go ahead.
Okay, so if we talk about our usual sequence, 4-step email sequence, so like first email and second email are in the same thread, and the difference is like 3 days, I guess. And then we have a bit bigger pause between like the new thread, and then like third, fourth email go to the prospect. And if they don't reply to this like 4-step email sequence, then we have this approach, like re-engagement approach. But we wait at least, I guess, 2 months to re-engage with those people. And then we may circle back with a new offering, or I don't know, for example, like new quarter kicks in, or I don't know, budget planning season, or I don't know, like summer break at university or something like that. So some kind of hook to resurface in this prospect's email, and not to sound like pushy, because some people will not remember you. But if you are reaching out to them sooner than, for example, 2 months, it can be too early and they will block you, and yeah, you will go to spam. So that's why you should wait for some kind of opportunity to re-engage with them or to offer something new. And yeah, and just keep in mind these time frames, at least of 2 months, I would say. Yeah. Maybe you can add something from your experience, Josh.
I think, yeah, you pretty much covered it all. A little bit more repetitive in the beginning, but then as time goes on, making it a lot more of a break between. Otherwise, yeah, you will get into spam, and that's not something that you want to go through regularly. So yeah, I think you covered it great.
Oh, you can re-engage with the prospect's colleague referral name. So that's even safer option. And you can refer to, yeah, like, hi, Josh. I will use your name for reference. Hi, Josh. I spoke to Lisa like back in October about this topic. Maybe, but I did my research, and you as a title will be also be a great fit for our conversation. Maybe I can proceed with this conversation with you. So what are your thoughts? So something like that will work as well.
Okay. Any other questions, guys? We've got a couple more minutes before we head, so I'd love to answer any more questions if you guys have any.
We're
But once again,
they strict 1 hour.
once again, I posted the link to our academy in our chat, and you can check that out. Check out our different courses. Nastya and I and one other individual took part together to actually create the course that we talked about briefly today, which was the template writing course. So if you have a desire to learn more about that, we would love to have you and have you join our course. So yeah,
Linda, 28 lectures. Just
yeah, quite a lot. So yeah.
So we cover each aspect like really deep, not just a couple of minutes about ICP, but just really
not like what you saw today. Today it's like get a lot of stuff through a very short amount of time. So with this, it's very in depth and it's long. So it'll take you a little while to get through. But Andrei also shared in our chat as well the links to the academy and to the community as well. So by all means, check us out. Join our community if you have not. Are you using Clay or Persona? If you mean for the design for this presentation, I don't know. I did not create this presentation. We have a design team that does a phenomenal job. So maybe if you wrote me on LinkedIn, maybe I could get back to you, or we could get back to you with the actual the font, if that's what you mean. I personally want to say thank you all for being here. It was great to have you, and thank you for your questions, and thank you for your time. And once again, if you have any questions or if you need anything from us, you'd like to find out more about what we do and what all we could help you with, by all means, connect with us on LinkedIn. Follow us on any social media that you can find, YouTube, Instagram, everywhere. And besides that, have a great rest of your Friday and a great weekend ahead.
Yeah, I'm also thankful for this opportunity again. It was a great time, and I hope that our tips will be helpful for you, that you found something new for you, because this industry is a bit saturated right now. So it's kind of hard to come up with something unique and creative and new. But I hope that you found at least one point that you didn't know before. And enjoy your evening, or I don't know, enjoy time of your day. It's also a variable in our templates, because when we send those, we don't know which time zone is like in our prospects. Okay.
Well, thank you, Nastya, again for being here, and thank you all for being here, and we will see you. All the best.